and then a week later, the whole western part of the state was totally changed. So it's, nothing to kind of, stress over too much here, but it just goes to show you that we should always be somewhat prepared in hurricane season, and that would include this year. There's no big threat right now anywhere, but it only takes a week of change that can really make a big difference.
Yeah, actually, I don't know if you remember, but we had one of the weather IQs that I did a few months ago. One of the data points that came out when the NHC NOAA did their first outlook of the year was that every Category 5 to ever hit the United States. So we got Andrew, Michael, of course, now the names reveal me. You might know.
Camille.
Yes, and then there's one more. Of course, there's
Michael.
now, but
Yeah, you
essentially,
said
every Category 5 that's ever hit the United States was a tropical storm or less 3 days before.
Wow. Oh, so that's stunning. And really, we probably haven't talked about it too much this year. Rapid intensification is a thing that we see a lot more in recent years. And Helene was one of those that really got from a pretty weak storm to a pretty strong storm very, very quickly. And the problem with that, like you were just saying, is it doesn't give you a lot of time to prepare or mentally. We talked about this with the Katrina look back, how the cone shifted a lot, and so people didn't have a lot of time to prepare mentally. When you have a storm that really intensifies pretty quickly, too, it's the same thing. You need to be prepared for changes that can happen.
Mm-hmm. It was 1935 Labor Day. That's why I forgot it, because it didn't have a name.
Gotcha.
That
Okay.
hit South Florida, yeah.
We did have a viewer question, I believe, this was from a couple of days ago, but someone was wanting to know, how come it's the fall rather than summer, which makes for more busy hurricane season. And most of the reason is it's not the heat necessarily. The water is pretty warm everywhere by August, but it has to do with more favorable winds, right, Brittany? So we have less wind shear and overall just better conditions.
Yeah, and like the steering currents, again, they can change on a dime, but they typically favor a more westerly pattern this time of year. So if you're thinking a storm making it all the way across the Atlantic or a storm making it all the way through the Caribbean, then obviously that pattern can support that too. I did think this was funny just because it's different every year. We just said October was 99 in 2019, but someone else also asked, when will this warm weather end? When will it be into the 70s? And my response was October, hopefully, in air quotes.
I think so. Now, the exception might be if you have rain, right? Like you could have some 70-degree days, but it looks like we'll have to wait a little while.
Yeah, we certainly will. Well, Tim, I hope you have a great weekend. Of course, it's Friday, y'all. We will be back all week long next week with more Helene coverage as well, because, of course, it is the week leading up. And also an interesting live weather impact on Monday, too. Tim, of course, you'll be here with Becca Birdsall, and we'll have Brad live in the mountains. But it's also the 36th anniversary of Hurricane Hugo. So we'll have a lot, hopefully, to kind of look back on from that storm as well.
All right, sounds good.
Welcome in this evening on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. I'm Nick Sturtevant. I'm still getting used to saying evening because I'm used to doing the afternoon, 12:30 to 3. So much happening, but it's Friday. I'm going to look. You're gonna be with me on Fridays for a while, so get used to it. Jeb is back. First Friday evening together. How are you doing?
We're back. I'm glad to be with the crew. We've got a great segment for you guys to kick off the first Nick and Jeb Friday night.
Oh, man. Let's talk about it because, look, it's an exciting sports weekend for fans here in Charlotte, right? Like, you
got a doubleheader like you wouldn't believe from the two best teams in Charlotte.
And it starts tomorrow, man.
Early.
It starts early. But here's the thing. Before we get to it, I got to ask Jeb, before we get to our guests, and look, you're going to enjoy this segment. You have to choose soccer or football, college football.
I was literally talking to our sports anchor, Danielle Stein, about this. It is a dilemma like nobody's, because you got Texas Tech, Utah, but you have Charlotte FC looking to make it a record 10 wins in a row. So what we decided is we're going to go to a bar and be really obnoxious and have them put the Charlotte FC on 9 TVs and then throw whatever football game they want to have on that 10th, because that's going to be one heck of a match.
That was a test, and you passed. Yeah. You passed. Let's get to our guests. We have Casey White, MLS soccer analyst. Casey, you hear us talking, Jeb and I. We're just kind of stumbling along. How are you doing? Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me. I'm honored to be a part of the first Friday show for you Friday evening. And I have the dilemma of college game day too, but unfortunately and fortunately, I'm on the air, had to make a decision, and I get to call the Charlotte FC game instead. So I'm right there with you guys.
It's what they say in the NFL, making a business decision. You made a good decision because, look, it's going to be a good matchup there in the Bronx there, Charlotte FC, New York FC. It has been an incredible run for Charlotte FC. They haven't lost a game in a long, long time. I do want to get into it. Big matchup. Can you, I guess, explain some keys to a win for Charlotte FC? Because I'm not going to lie, here in Charlotte, sports-wise, we need a team to be good, and this is big for us.
Well, it's a huge matchup, like you said, so I will reiterate that point. And I think ever since I knew I was doing this game, I always thought it was going to be a really interesting tactical matchup, but New York City as well, in the form that they're in, and then you put that on top of the form that we already know Charlotte's in, it makes for an even better matchup. A huge key to what Charlotte has been so good at has been they're so structured defensively, but when they go forward, it almost seems like it's a goal every other time. And the finishing efficiency that they have had in the attacking third has been critical, and along this entire stretch. And I think it's going to be no different against New York City when you go to Yankee Stadium, a small field, and against a really good team.
With that being said, there's like a different energy this season around the club, around Charlotte FC. What are you seeing? It's a two-part. What are you seeing in like the addition of Wilfred Zaha? What has that meant to the club?
It's a personality, first and foremost. I've watched Wilfred Zaha for years just as a fan, not an analyst of the game only. I love just watching the game. And when you add someone with the personality and the pizzazz that he has, but also the experience that he brings from the Premier League into this environment, that cannot be understated. So there's those intangibles. You add on the goal scoring. Now you add on how much attention he's drawing and his ability to play in pockets and draw attention and get assists and just all those little pieces as well. I could go on forever. His work rate last game against Inter Miami defensively. He's just a player that you can really build around, and he's becoming even more multifaceted than I think we all thought.
Totally. Zaha, this is Jeb here. I'm jumping in. You know, Nick Sturtevant was having so much fun. I was like, I got to ask some questions. Get some of your insight. So we saw a fantastic match on, I want to say it was Wednesday, between Columbus and New York City. Crazy last-minute finish to seal that game. I was watching that game, and I've watched a lot of New York City games, and playing at Yankee Stadium on that pitch, I cringe because it is so narrow. And Charlotte FC is obviously a team where so much of what they do offensively comes out wide, and you got to kind of change those tactics. Luckily, we have Pep Biel, there's a lot of discussion about whether or not he makes the starting lineup with Brant Bronico playing so well. How do you think that narrow pitch and the way Charlotte's been playing lately will kind of work together? How is that going to look tomorrow?
It's a challenge. You bring up an excellent point, Jeb, because it does change things. It doesn't mean that it can be an excuse. It doesn't mean that, but you have to find different spaces to play in, and the margins of error are so different. We saw with the game versus Columbus that the ball retention was not very good from either side. There was lots of turnovers in the middle third. So it became a game of who was going to finish and be really efficient in the final third, and also who was going to turn those turnovers into attacking transition moments. And that's what's really important at Yankee Stadium is when those balls are turned over, what do you look like above the ball? What do you look like behind the ball in rest defense? And which team manages those moments better could be the real key to the separation in this game, because we have two teams that can possess. We have two teams that can press and defend and be structured. So something has to give there, and I think it's those transition moments.
What would it mean for a guy like Jed mentioned it, Pep Biel, to be back in the lineup? Again, it's still up in the air, but what would it mean for him to be in the lineup?
Everything. As a former player, I feel for players that are in really good form. They get injured and then they go out of a game or for a while since early August, then they just want to get back to where they were. But it's a process. And so for a player like Pep Biel to get back in the game from a personal standpoint, I'm sure just being able to get minutes is great, but I know he is probably striving to get back into that exact same form. And it's better for Charlotte if he can get there. But it's a good problem that Dean Smith has on his hands. Everyone's performing well. So it's how do you incorporate a player like Biel back in? Does he go back in right away? Are there certain games that you think he might be a better fit for? This could be one of them, but you just don't know what Dean Smith's going to do with how he wants to manage the lineups with the team that's in such great form.
So the last time Charlotte played New York City FC, it had just been announced that Nico Fernandez would join the team. He hadn't played yet. The window hadn't opened. He's there now. Fernandez is a name at New York City FC that's producing a lot of goals, a lot of assists. What can Charlotte do to really shut down that attacking three of Fernandez, Maxi Morales, and Hannes Wolf? I mean, that is a loud three that hasn't really drummed up the same amount of headlines that we've seen from like Inter Miami or some of these other teams, but that is a strong, fun, attacking three.
It is. And what's really good about what they do is they have really nice interchange. So they pick up different areas. One leaves a spot, one fills a spot. It's not very vertical. It can be horizontal. It can be opposite movements. So that can be really hard about pulling defenses out. But one of the strong suits of what I believe has made Charlotte so successful is Malanda and Reem and how they play together and understanding those movements in conjunction with Westwood in front of them. Like, how do they manipulate that space that's right in front of their back line and make sure that New York City can't? But you bring up Nico, he's been playing really well, but then he finally got that goal against Chicago, and you add his ability to connect to a work ethic piece that he has as well. Charlotte is going to have to be aware that he can make runs out of the middle third as well. That's how he got his goal versus Chicago. He started it in his own defensive third, building out of the back, playing in combination, and ran about 70 yards for a goal. So tracking runners, keeping your eye on Nico, really important.
All right, and I know the Charlotte FC fans have been yelling at their television for me to ask this question, but I just had to keep you guys waiting just a little bit. Idon Toklamati might be the hottest name in the league, having one of the most prolific late season runs we've ever seen from a player who, and I will say when Charlotte signed him, I was like, who is this guy? It looked like he had talent, but when we lost Ajamong, I was hoping for a DP number 9, a fun signing to really galvanize the fan base, and Dean Smith said, no, we're good. We got it. And I think I speak for all Charlotte FC fans. I was like, what do you mean we got it? We're not scoring anything right now. Like, it's our biggest problem. And Idon Toklamati, like a galloping Pegasus flies onto the field and absolutely has been dominant. A hat trick versus Inter Miami, announcing himself to the league. What does he have to do to keep up a run of form that we've truly never seen in Charlotte since, I'm thinking like Cam Newton era? Like, that's how well he's playing right now. I mean, this is a resurgence like we cannot believe. So what does he need to keep doing?
Here's what I will say. Toklamati has been unbelievable. He's been in great form. I have to give him the credit. The soccer nerd's going to come out in me because obviously you get paid the big bucks to score goals, and that's what he's doing. But I love everything else he does for this team as a number 9. He plays between the lines. He connects play well. His 1 and 2 touch technique, his ability to get into the box and to sniff out areas where he thinks the ball may bounce and then provide the finishing touch. That's really where it's at. But it's everything he does in between that makes him actually a very all-around and well-rounded number 9. But you're right. That's what managers have to choose. When a big player leaves, do we go elsewhere, or do we have players within our roster, either one or by committee, that can fill this role? Dean Smith knew what he was doing. He saw every day what Edon was doing, and he probably couldn't predict how many goals he would score. But sometimes as a player, you're just waiting for an opportunity, however that comes, and then you have to be ready for it. So you grind in the shadows, and then you hope that it comes out under the lights. And that's really what has happened for Edon Toklamati. And what a great time it's happening for him, for Charlotte FC, and for all the fans.
Jeb said Cam Newton. He knew what he was doing when he said that. I'm a diehard Panthers fan, so
Okay.
She said okay.
I gotta ask.
Like, I'm not joining you on that. I'm sorry.
Look, it'll get better. It'll get better. Still.
Sorry, yeah, Charlotte FC. You just need one.
I'm endearing myself to Charlotte fans right now. I'm sorry, or Carolina Panthers fans. I apologize, but this is a soccer show, so don't hold it against me.
I won't. As the president of the fan club, I won't.
Oh, no. You try to convert me. Let's go.
I got to ask about a guy like Matt Freese. He signs his contract extension. He's elite. Dude is elite. Not really a question, but Charlotte FC, they're going to have a lot on their hands dealing with this guy.
They are. He has, I can just speak from experience from whether it was my playing career or my coaching career. I am a big proponent of, if you can have a top-level goal scorer and a top-level keeper, you're going to stay in a lot of games just by having those players. And so having a Matt Freese is really good for New York City, and that's why I mentioned that the attacking efficiency piece of Charlotte is going to have to be on point, because he manages the space behind the back line extremely well, and he can come up with the big save. We've seen that from Kalina as well on the flip side. So I think both of these goalkeepers it's going to take something special to get past them. Even though we've seen New York City concede more goals recently, they've also shown that they can score more goals. And so it'll just be interesting to see how that all balances out tomorrow.
Totally. And I think for those of us who watch Matt Freese in the Gold Cup, it's not the goalie you want to face. He looks phenomenal. There's a very good chance that he plays for the U.S. in 2026. I'm hoping some of our guys in Europe step up, but if they don't, Matt Freese is a phenomenal option to have there. Just kind of finally, we thank you so much. You've been so generous with your time. We really, really appreciate it. Charlotte fans, this is the most excited they've been for a team in a very, very long time. We have our poor Nick Sturdivant, trotting out every Sunday trying to get the Panthers to win. We're hoping that the Hornets have the same thing. It's an exciting time. What would you be watching out for tomorrow if you were, part of the crown? Lots of people are watching in places like Hopfly, Hooligans. Everyone's going to be coming out. Record-breaking game. What should fans be watching out for from both teams? What should fans be getting excited for?
I think this is going to be a battle of who can play in their opponent's half more often. And we've been talking about football, American football, so I'm going to use this term a little bit, but just gaining ground a little bit is something that's important. We don't talk about that much from that perspective in soccer, but when you play on a tight field like Yankee Stadium, if you can play in the opponent's half more often, you limit mistakes that are really close to your goal. So I don't see a lot of play back to the keeper, play out of the back, and invite pressing, which I think is going to make a lot of fun for fans. So when fans are out there watching, seeing those moments of whenever a ball is turned over, look at the runs off the ball that the players up top can make in Zaha and Vargas and Toklamati and Bronico. All those players, I think, are going to be looking in transition moments to make a difference. And I think it's going to happen on the flip side as well. So it makes for a really end-to-end game and a quick one just because of the dimensions of the field and the nature of both of these teams wanting to score goals.
That's Casey White, MLS soccer analyst. Look, I understand the dilemma that you're in. On one hand, look, you got a great matchup, Charlotte FC, New York FC. But on the other hand, you're gonna be missing out some college football. We'll make sure you're updated somehow. We'll make sure that you're good to go. Thank you so much for taking time to do this, break this down. Again, Charlotte is a soccer city. I think we can say that, Jeb.
100%. This is soccer city.
Soccer city.
It's a soccer city. We're there.
Yeah, almost a football city.
Well, American football definitely comes after soccer for me. So about 2:30 p.m. Eastern on, I can watch some football. But
tomorrow, that's what's up.
Soccer. So Apple TV for sure.
Apple Season Pass. MLS Season Pass on Apple TV. That's where you can catch Casey White. It's going to be a phenomenal match, everybody.
All right, thank you, Casey.
Thank you.
Oh man, great interview, great talk there, great breakdown. Look, a lot of my soccer Charlotte FC knowledge I get from Jeb. Jeb has really been having me tapped in. I mean, Charlotte FC is still a young team, young franchise. So shout out to Jeb. Shout out to the fans.
No, it's been awesome, and I say this every time I can. But this is so neat for me. I grew up watching the San Jose Earthquakes at Buckshot Stadium in Santa Clara, and you'd have 200-300 people. And MLS for us was cool, but it never felt like the games in England, right? I would wake up early to watch Robert Van Persie, Samir Nat, guys for Arsenal FC growing up, and then I'd go play my soccer game.
Right.
Then I'd go to Buckshot Stadium, watch Real Salt Lake, watch Steven Lennart and Chris Wondolowski dominating for the Earthquakes. So to be in a city now like Charlotte, where you go to these games and there's 20, 30, 40, 50,000 people cheering on soccer, knowing the chants, wearing the jerseys. It's not just a pastime like it was when I was growing up. It is a true fandom. So to see the league, to see what Apple TV has done for the league, to watch it. I mean, if you guys have an opportunity to watch MLS 360,
it's really good. It's
a phenomenal product.
Yeah.
So I feel so blessed to be alive and to be an MLS fan. And the parity of the league makes it so interesting to be able to root for Charlotte FC, who's just dominant. I mean, one of the most dominant teams we've seen, as good as Columbus when they won.
Yeah.
I feel so lucky to be a fan. So and to have Casey to break down what to expect. I mean, that has been phenomenal. So we really appreciate the time.
And soccer in the South, I want to point that out, Jeff.
Yeah, look at Atlanta. Look at Orlando.
I was in Atlanta when the Atlanta United wave was so huge.
Yep.
And seeing the stadium,
they're still crazy.
It's still crazy.
They're terrible, and they're still, people are still going to those games.
And coming here, eventually getting here, and it's just like, wow, just to see that, it's awesome. So good luck, Charlotte FC. The game is at noon. New York Yankee Stadium. I was about to say New York Yankee Stadium. We don't say it like that. Yankee Stadium in the Bronx. Make sure you catch it. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be back in 2 minutes here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. All right, welcome back here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. I'm Nick Sturdivant. Jeb is here in studio this evening. All right, so we want to get to this in case you missed it. So I want to lay it out for you. So President Trump today rolled out a version of his administration's long-promised gold card. It's a $1 million fast track, and I'm reading this from Politico, fast track for wealthy foreigners to live and work in the U.S. So he had this rollout today, signing executive orders inside the Oval Office, also answered questions from reporters. Let's take a listen in case you missed it.
They'll have control of it. Mr. President, I want to thank President Xi because he was a gentleman, and we've just had a good relationship, and we wanted a lot of people in this country wanted to be open. If it weren't open, maybe, I don't know, I think we won by so much it wouldn't have mattered, but we got a lot of votes. We got a lot of Republican votes from very young people. You go ahead, Jeff.
The Russian jets entered Estonia's airspace today for 12 minutes. Do you see that as a threat to NATO?
Well, I'm going to have to look at it. They're going to be briefing me in a short while, so I'll let you know about it tonight or tomorrow.
What's your take in general?
Well, I don't love it. I don't love it when that happens. Could be big trouble. But I'll let you know later. They're going to brief me in about an hour.
And a follow-up on Charlie Kirk, there's been a lot of talk about free speech this week. Do you see a difference between cancel culture and consequence culture?
I mean, your question's a little trick question. I'm a very strong person for free speech. At the same time, when you have networks where I won an election, like in counties, I guess it's 2,600 to 525. That's called a landslide times two. When you have
Democrat votes, I want to thank Senator John Fetterman. He wants to keep the country open. We're doing so well as a country. We're doing probably better than ever before. If you look at the stock market and other indicators, we have tremendous investment coming in, record investment coming. Everything's going well, but the Democrats are unhappy about that because they don't want it to go well. I think they actually dislike our country greatly. So they want to shut down the country. They want to have open borders. They want to stop the fighting of crime, where we've been very successful. The D.C., as you know, Washington, D.C. is it's a hot place right now. Everyone's having dinners. They're going out all over. There's very little crime. They haven't seen numbers like this in many, many years. And other places, as you know, we're going into Memphis. We'll soon be going into Chicago. We've already had people out there and in there, and FBI's been there. We've brought the numbers down, but we're going to be bringing them down a whole lot. But I guess they want crime and we fight crime, and it's a pretty big difference. They want to have men play in women's sports. They want transgender for everybody. And if they don't get everything that they want, all these things that they want that are proven so badly, they want to close our government down. We're not going to let bad things happen to our country. We're not going to approve things that we shouldn't be approving. Just today, the House Democrats voted against condemning the political assassination of Charlie Kirk. Who could vote against that? The condemning, all they're saying, please condemn the assassination of a human being. And they said, no, then we're not going to do that. Remember this, we had an election a very short time ago. Republicans won presidential. We won the popular vote by a lot. We won all 7 swing states. We won the Electoral College by a lot. We won most U.S. counties in a total landslide. So we won most. It's a very big statistic. We won the counties in a number that I don't believe has been hit before. 2,600 counties versus 525 counties for the Democrats. So the Democrats really should start respecting what takes place at the voter booth. In many cases, it's not a voter booth because they have mail-in voting, which is a very corrupt situation. But despite that, we won in a landslide. And we have to remember, when you win the election, elections have consequences. So we'll continue to talk to the Democrats, but I think you could very well end up with a closed country for a period of time, and we'll take care of the military, we'll take care of Social Security, we'll take care of the things that we have to take care of. A lot of the things that Democrats fight for, which in many cases aren't very good things, will not be able to be paid. So we'll watch and see how they do with that. They'll have to handle their constituents pretty carefully. So we're proud to announce that we won the House. We did fine in the Senate, but we need 60 votes. So we have 53 senators, and we need 60 votes. That means the Democrats have to vote in the Senate. And I don't think they will be voting. Now, what we are doing, we're really here today to talk about something else, which is the gold card, which is going to bring a lot of money into our country, which is going to reduce taxes and lots of other good things. But we'll save that for a little bit later. Why don't we do this first? And then we'll talk about the gold card. Okay? Any questions, Jeff?
Your call with President Xi, sir. President Xi, your call this morning with President
It was great. I had a great call with President Xi, and as you know, he approved the TikTok deal, and we're in the process. We have some great investors, some of the biggest in the world, American investors, great people, and we look forward to getting that deal closed.
Is it fully approved? The Chinese statements didn't necessarily
Well,
indicate that.
I think so. I mean, when you say fully approved, I don't know what that means. We have to get it signed. I guess there could be a formality. I found his word to be very good. President Xi and I had a long talk. We talked for almost 2 hours, and started at 8 o'clock in the morning. And I think it was a very good talk. We talked about trade. We talked about war. We talked about a lot of things. We talked about Russia, Ukraine, obviously, and Gaza. Talked about a lot of subjects. It was a long call. It was a good call. We have a very good relationship. But the TikTok deal is well on its way, as you know, and the investors are getting ready. And I think China wanted to see it stay open, too. They wanted to see it. And I can tell you the young people in our country wanted to see it stay open very badly because, and if you take a look at my numbers, no Republican has ever done anything like we did. We got massive numbers of youth vote. And by the way, helped very much by Charlie Kirk. So Charlie was very much in favor of TikTok. He liked TikTok. And he said, you know, you should use it. And other people said that too, and I used it, and I don't know if I have I think I set records. I looked at numbers that are phenomenal. We'll pass them out to you. And it had probably a pretty big effect on the election because we won the election by a lot. So we are in a situation where in a little while, meaning a number of days, we'll probably, I don't know if you can make a deal with these people. I think these people are crazy. You know, again, anybody wants open borders and don't want to fight. They don't want to fight crime. They hate to fight crime. And in Chicago, last weekend, you had 11 people killed, murdered, and you had 28 shot. And those numbers have been pretty consistent all throughout a period of time, whether it was 4 people, 5 people, 6 people, 11 people, 12 people killed, murdered. And they don't want to spend money to fight crime. And it's not even much money, relatively speaking. It's very little. But we're going there anyway. It doesn't make any difference. We're going to Chicago. We're going to Memphis next. And we're going to clean up the crime in the cities because we have to do that. Okay?
With this deal today, are you confident that the CCP won't be exerting control?
Yeah, we're going to have a very tight control. And look, it's an amazing thing that's been created. There's tremendous value with TikTok. And I'm a little prejudiced because I frankly did so well on it. You know, it got me numbers that nobody's ever even heard of before. So a lot of people want it. The young people of this country want it badly. The parents of those young people want it badly. And so we were able to work out a deal with China. And it's a very good deal for us. I hope it's a good deal for them.
Would you be confident in a deal, or would you accept a deal where China controls the algorithm of TikTok?
Well, it's all being worked out. We're going to have very good control. We have these are American investors, all of them, and they all love our country. They're all very well-known people, very famous people, actually, financially, and they'll have control of it. And I want to thank President Xi because he was a gentleman, and we've just had a good relationship, and we wanted a lot of people in this country wanted to be open. And again, if it weren't open, If it weren't open, maybe, I don't know. I think we won by so much it wouldn't have mattered, but we got a lot of votes. We got a lot of Republican votes from very young people. You go ahead, Jeff.
Thank you, sir. Russian jets entered Estonia's airspace today for 12 minutes. Do you see that as a threat to NATO?
Well, I'm going to have to look at it. They're going to be briefing me in a short while, so I'll let you know about it tonight or tomorrow.
What's your take in general?
Well, I don't love it. I don't love it when that happens. It could be big trouble. But I'll let you know later. They're going to brief me in about an hour.
And a follow-up on Charlie Kirk. There's been a lot of talk about free speech this week. Do you see a difference between cancel culture and consequence culture?
Well, I mean, your question's a little trick question. I'm a very strong person for free speech. At the same time, when you have networks where I won an election, like in counties, I guess it's 2,600 to 525. That's called a landslide times 2. When you have that level of popularity or voter support, as I did in the last election, and yet 97 and 94%, different numbers. You see different numbers with different stats, but 97, 94, 95, 96% of the people are against me in the sense of the newscasts are against me. The stories are they said 97% bad. So they gave me 97. They'll take a great story and they'll make it bad. See, I think that's really illegal, personally. You can't have a free airwaves. You're getting free airwaves from the United States government, and you can't have that and say, and somebody that just won an election, and I had to go through this during the election. I think it's a miracle that I can win when 97% of the stories on the networks are bad, or whatever it may be, whether it's 89, doesn't matter. It's a tremendous number. You know it, you report it all the time, and it changes. But when you have that kind of a negative reporting, fake negative reporting, when they take a great story and they make it into a bad story constantly, that's what they do. Look, 60 Minutes took Kamala's answer and they threw it out and they gave her a different answer so that she sounded competent. When things like that happen, George Slopadopoulos from your network, right? George Slopadopoulos had to pay $16 million to me because of what he said. And that's ABC. You had to pay more than that. Your network had to pay more than that. So I think it's very sad. But I think that reporting has to be at least accurate to an extent. Again, when somebody is given 97% of the stories are bad about a person, that's no longer free speech, that's no longer anything, that's just cheating. And they cheat. And they become really members of the Democrat National Committee. That's what they are, the networks, in my opinion. They're just offshoots of the Democrat National Committee.
Mr. President.
Go ahead.
Liam Cosgrove with Zero Hedge. People are still anticipating who your pick for National Security Advisor will be. They're worried Marco Rubio is a little overworked, and one of the reported frontrunners is Michael Anton from the State Department.
He's good.
He's just authored the National Security Strategy. Also in the mix is Mike Flynn and
Good.
Steve Witkoff. Can you give us an indication?
Well, they're all good. No, we'll make a decision soon.
Okay.
But we're doing very well. You know, I settled 7 wars, more than that, I think. But actually, we settled 7 wars. I have, we're working on Gaza. It's a tough one, but we'll get it done somehow. And we're also working with Russia and Ukraine. And they hate each other so much you wouldn't believe it. President Putin and President Zelensky, they hate each other to a level that you wouldn't believe. So they're having a little bit of a problem with that.
And are you considering Stephen Moran for Fed Chair?
I hadn't thought of it too much. He's doing a great job. Just got approved. His vote was a very good one. The Fed should have done more. You know, too late. Powell is terrible. He's a terrible chair. I think he's just terrible. But despite that, we're powering through it. We have another record stock market today. We're very, very high levels, and we're at the highest levels. So we're setting records many, many days during my administration. We've set records, and we'll see what happens with 50,000. 50,000 is a pretty big number. Never come close. We're not so far away from it. So That's because they see what's happening. Not so much what's happening exactly right now, but they see all the plants that are being built. They see the kind of investment that's going to be made. When you take $17 trillion, so Biden had $250 billion, okay? Or putting a simpler way, they had much less than $1 trillion, but they had less than $1 trillion for 4 years. I have $17 trillion for 8 months. Nobody's ever seen anything like it. And I think they're looking at that and they're saying when those plants open, right now they're being built, a lot of them, and some are starting over the next year. It takes a while, but we're getting fast permits. And when those plants get built, I don't think there'll be anything like what we're going to experience. Yeah?
Mr. President, if I can, on the top subject of free speech, Ted Cruz compared Brendan Carr to a mob boss, the way he's threatening television stations and saying it's absolutely dangerous for the government to determine which speech is okay and which is not. What's your reaction to Ted Cruz?
I think Brendan Carr is an incredible American patriot with courage. You know, it used to be, I remember in the old days that networks would have to get licensed, relicensed, and it was always a big deal. You know, they had to show honesty and integrity. When you have a network, again, I'll use the same numbers, whether it's 90 or 94 or 97, all different numbers, but when you have networks that give somebody 97% bad publicity or 94% bad publicity, I think that's dishonesty. And you know they're getting free airwaves, right? You know that, right? You get them for nothing. These airwaves, they make millions and millions of dollars. The news makes millions of dollars. ABC, your network. I mean, your network wrote very badly about me, and they had to pay me $16 million.
So you think
I wasn't looking for that.
Brendan Carr has a right to...
No, I think Brendan Carr is a patriot. I think Brendan Carr is a courageous person. I think Brendan Carr doesn't like to see the airwaves be used illegally and incorrectly and purposely horribly. Doesn't like to see a person that won the election in a landslide get 97% bad publicity before the election. I mean, it's amazing that I won the election with that, but here's what happened. The people have given your networks no credibility. They don't give them any credibility, John. If they did, they wouldn't vote for me. They wouldn't have voted for me. When you look at, I mean, you could also say the liberal media, the liberal left, when you look at these stories and papers, but we're not talking about that. We're talking about, I assume you're talking mostly about the networks, but they have a licensing procedure, and you can read it as well. They have to show honesty and integrity. And when they take a good, well, I think the people decide. That's why I'm president. When they take a great success, like you often do, and you make it into like it's a loser, or you put a negative spin on it, I don't think that's right. So I think Brendan Carr is a great American patriot. So I disagree with Ted Cruz on that.
Will you be at the UN next week? You're going to the UN?
I'll be at the UN. I'll be making a speech, yes.
And are you meeting any other world leaders?
Many of them.
Can you tell me?
Well, I'm meeting many of them. They're being set up.
What is your goal from attending that meeting? What do you hope to get out of it?
World peace. Nobody's done a better job than I've done in world peace. Nobody's settled so many wars as I have. You know, I've been here probably a little bit more than 8 months, and I've settled 7, and that doesn't include the destruction of a vast potential nuclear disaster in Iran, which we wiped out totally, as I say, obliterated. We obliterated it. It's been turned right with this beautiful plane right here. We just ordered some more of them, by the way. The B-2 bomber. Just ordered some more. The more updated version. Not that we needed that. We just need the plane because it was so flawless. These pilots flew 37 hours flawlessly. Not an engine problem, not a screw, not a bolt came loose. It was an amazing. Compare that to many years ago, Jimmy Carter, same country, with the helicopters and the problems and the prisoners and the hostages, and what a mess. No, these planes flew 37 hours without a stop. They fueled up. We had 52 tankers fueling the planes along the way. It was an incredible, and every single bomb hit its mark. And then we fired 30 of them from submarines, from a submarine. What a job that was. And I don't even include that. But that stopped a war. That stopped maybe a catastrophic war.
Mr. President.
So, so I think that nobody has ever done anywhere near that. Now, on top of that, we're working very hard to get Russia-Ukraine settled. We'll see what's going to happen there. I hope we're going to get it done. President Xi and I spoke to him about it, and I believe that he really would like to see it done also, and I think he's going to work with us to help.
What was your message? What was your message to President Xi on the war in Ukraine? What are you asking?
Well, it's the same as his message to me. He would like to see it done. He would like to see it. I believe he would like to see it ended. Yes, I do believe.
These two wars that you were talking about, Gaza and Ukraine, are escalating at the same time. You're going to take the stage and the UN back at the stage after these years. Do you plan to setting any kind of red lines for these two countries? And you said before,
well, we're going to see.
Frustrated with Putin.
Yeah.
Are you also frustrated?
We have a long time to go before I get up and speak at the UN, because every day is a long time when it comes to Gaza and it comes to Israel and the Middle East. So we have a long time to go, but you know a lot of my opinions, and remember this, you can't forget October 7th either. People are forgetting October 7th. They forget it too quickly. That was one of the worst days in world history. It was the most evil attack that I think you could really say babies were involved, little babies were involved, and having their heads chopped off and all of the things that took place. You can't forget that. I don't forget that. A lot of people do, but I don't. Yeah, please. Go ahead, please.
President, what goes into retaking Bagram? Does that require boots on the ground?
We'll see what happens with Bagram. We're talking to Afghanistan. It should have never been given up. It was the most embarrassing day in the history of our country. There was no reason to give it up. I was leaving Afghanistan. I was leaving. I was the one that got it down to 5,000 soldiers, but we were going to keep Bagram, the air base. I said it yesterday, and we had an incredible trip, as you know, to UK, and I said it during the press conference. It's one of the most powerful runways ever built in terms of weight, length, and load, what it could take, and we just gave it up for nothing. We gave it up for nothing. There was no reason to give it up. We weren't going to leave Bagram. And Joe Biden didn't know what he was doing. We had a man that didn't know what he was doing. We had a man, by the way, that didn't approve. If you take a look at what's happening in Congress, we had a man that signed almost everything with an auto pen. And he didn't tell the people from the auto pen, whoever was using it. The one man that used it predominantly said that Biden only spoke to him twice, and it was only about the weather. Okay, it was about nothing. So those pardons that he gave are illegal. He gave illegal pardons. And that includes the congressman that destroyed and deleted all the information from J6. They deleted everything because it turned out that they were wrong. It turned out that I offered 10,000 National Guard or soldiers, whatever they wanted, and you wouldn't have had a problem. And they turned it down. Nancy Pelosi turned it down, and the mayor of Washington, D.C. turned it down. They deleted everything, and they destroyed it, illegally destroyed it. And Biden gave them a pardon. And Biden gave a lot of other people pardons that, frankly, would be in jail if it wasn't for those pardons. But those pardons now are illegal, according to just about everybody.
What was your
on Letitia James, are you disappointed that the U.S. Attorney for the Eastern District of Virginia has not prosecuted Letitia James? Do you intend to fire him?
Well, we're going to see what happens. I am not following it very closely. It looks to me like she's very guilty of something, but I really don't know. I know that the U.S. Attorney from the Eastern District, or from that district in Virginia, that he was approved by two Democrat senators who, in my opinion, are among the worst. And when I learned that two senators, Democrats, because as you know, it's very hard with the blue slip, it's very hard for a Republican to get somebody approved if you have one senator that's a Democrat because of an old custom. It's not a law, it's a custom. It's a ridiculous custom. But if you have a Democrat senator, you have to get that senator approved. Well, in this case, we had two. When I saw that he got two senators, two gentlemen that are bad news as far as I'm concerned. When I saw that he got approved by those two men, I said, pull it, because he can't be any good.
So you want him fired? You want him out?
Yeah, I want him out, yeah. When I learned that he was blue-slipped through by 2 Democrat senators in Virginia, people that would never vote for it, that people that haven't voted for us for probably years, okay, probably years. In my opinion, 2 bad guys. You know, they are Warner and Kane. 2 bad guys, bad senators too. They do a terrible job for the people of Virginia. But when I saw that he got approved by these 2 terrible people that haven't voted, they just don't vote no matter what it is, we could give them the greatest deal ever and they still wouldn't vote. And they voted for this guy. And I have other people, judges, and I have U.S. attorneys from other states where I have the same situation, and they can't get approved. So when I learned that they voted for him, I said, I don't really want him. Okay.
Mr. President, do you want to get...
No, behind you, please.
Have you seen the polling, the Gallup poll out of Ukraine that shows 23%, less than a quarter, of Ukrainians actually support continuing the war against Putin? We saw the European leaders come here and try to say the world is united for the war effort, but Ukrainians have war fatigue themselves.
Well, I don't blame them.
Your thoughts on it?
I don't blame them. It's a war that never should have started. It's a war that never would have happened. If I were president, that war never would have happened, ever. That's a disgrace that war happened. And they're losing anywhere from 5,000 to 8,000 people a week on that war, which is the worst since the Second World War. That's a war that should have never happened.
And if you consider...
Would have never happened. And it didn't happen for 4 years. When I was here, it didn't happen. Go ahead.
Have you considered cutting funding, even promises made by the Biden administration?
Well, we're not spending any money on the war. You know, we're being paid for everything we said. Unlike Biden, he gave them $350 billion. And it was shocking. We're not spending any money on the war. The war is being funded by NATO. NATO is buying our equipment. In fact, I don't want to make money on that war. I don't want to, but we are actually making money on that war because they're buying our equipment, as you know. But NATO, as you know, and very important, is funding the entire thing. They're paying for the missiles, for the tanks. They're paying for anything that's sent over there. It goes to NATO, and then NATO does what they want with it. In this case, I guess they give it to Ukraine. It's a very sad war. It's a war that never should have happened.
Mr. President.
Go ahead, please.
TikTok, could you tell me, is the U.S. government going to take a board seat in the company, and will the U.S. government...
A what?
A board seat within the company?
Well, we're going to announce that. Are you talking about TikTok?
Yes,
Yeah.
TikTok.
We're going to announce it. But it's a great deal for our country. It's a great deal for all of the young people in the country that wanted it, and people generally. I was happy with it. Look, I wasn't a fan of TikTok, and then I got to use it, and I became a fan, and it helped me win the election in a landslide. So I think that it's a deal that's going to be great. And it's also controlled by very powerful and very substantial American people. All American, by the way, all American people. Yeah, please, behind. Go ahead, please.
President, question from Newsmax. Last year, before you took office, there was an estimated 6.8 million men not actively seeking work of prime working age. So you and Secretary Lutnick could talk about the efforts your administration is taking to help our American gentlemen get back to work.
Yeah, well, what we're doing is they're building plants all over the United States, and frankly, because of tariffs, we're taking in trillions of dollars, and countries that have ripped us off for years, and everyone knows this, countries that have ripped us off for years, like nobody's ever been ripped off before, they're now having to pay up. They're paying a lot of money to America, and we're reducing taxes with that money, and we're doing things that we were never able to do before. So it's you're going to have a lot of jobs. The jobs are being created right now, and the tariffs are protecting our country. And we didn't use, tariffs were used against us, but we didn't use them against others. But we're really better at it than anybody else, and we will have taken in trillions of dollars. Nobody's ever seen anything. Even people that were against the tariffs, now they see the way they're working. And by the way, with no inflation, with no problem, we're just building up cash, and we're using that cash to reduce taxes, reduce debt, and other things. It's a great thing to watch. And your honest reporters are saying they've never seen anything like what's happening. Our country is becoming very rich again only because of tariffs. If we didn't have it, if I didn't get elected, this country would be, it was a dead country. Look, We were a dead country a year ago, and now we're the most successful, most vibrant country anywhere in the world. Hello, Sean. Nice to see you. You look good on television.
Thanks, sir.
Good.
Tonight, in a few minutes, Steve Bannon will appear on my show.
Good.
He floats the idea that you should dual hat Secretary of Treasury Scott Bessent, not only as Treasury Secretary, but as interim Fed chair. Would you be willing to entertain that?
In other words, you like Scott.
Yes, sir, very much.
So do I. And I like Steve, too. Okay.
Would you like to see that, him dual
Well,
hat?
it's certainly an interesting dual. We could save a little bit on salary. I think I could maybe make a deal where we just give him one salary. You know, I have a couple of them.
I don't think you need
I have Marco. No, I don't think so. And we have Marco's got about 3 positions, right? He's doing great also. No, I don't think that's going to be necessary. Actually, I went to Scott and I talked to him about that position, and he loves what he's doing right now. So, you know, he's not in the mix because he loves being Secretary of the Treasury.
Quick follow-up. Today is the first day of early voting in the Commonwealth of Virginia. Are you planning on campaigning for Winsome Sears, John Reed, or Jesse Mayaris?
Well, I'm going to have to look at some of them. As you know, it's sort of a semi-local election. I've been watching it. I've been seeing the ads.
I would appreciate it as a Virginia voter.
Who do you like of the group? Who do you like?
The whole ticket, sir.
All of them? You like them? All right.
Yes, sir.
Well, I'll take a very strong look.
Appreciate
Okay.
it.
For you, I'm going to look.
Secretary Kennedy's panel on vaccine changed its broad recommendations on COVID-19 vaccines today. Are you comfortable with that change, or would you like to see Americans take the vaccines that were developed under your tenure?
Yeah. Well, the vaccines, according to a lot of people, and if you look at charts, have had a tremendous, Operation Warp Speed. It was, just according to just about everybody, was one of the greatest things that any president has ever done in this country. So we're very proud of it. I'm very proud of it. I'm also very proud of Regeneron and some of the things that came out of, all of the labs and all of the research that we've done. So I don't know exactly what the final determination is, but I had the vaccine. I was very happy with it. Here I am, right? Here I am.
Bobby Kennedy seems to be undoing what you did with...
No, I put him in there because I want to have opposite views. That's okay. I think we're going to have something very, very big coming up soon on autism. Autism is totally out of control, and one of the most important things that, in my opinion, I had to do is to see what's going on with autism. And we're going to have a news conference early next week on autism. And I think you're going to see some things that are amazing that we've learned that somebody else wouldn't have learned. It's out of control, autism, out of control. And I think we maybe have the reason why.
But is Bobby Kennedy going too far and unwinding?
Well, I don't know. He's saying for older people. Yeah, he's saying for older people. A lot of people agree with that. And but I can tell you this: Operation Warp Speed, one of the greatest things a president has ever done for this country. And you can say the world, because when we came up with that vaccine, the whole world opened up. But I put Bobby there as somebody that will go either way. And I want the facts, but I also look at facts from Pfizer, where they spent a lot of money, and the other drug companies, they spent a lot of money on finding out the results after the fact, and the results were amazingly good. Yeah, please.
I'm wondering if you've seen the video put out by former Israeli hostages addressed to you. One is a widow of one that died, and these are people who were freed thanks to you. But they're actually encouraging you to force a ceasefire, force Netanyahu to a ceasefire, and they didn't address it to him because they think you're the one who might actually listen to them and get it done. They're worried that the hostages who are still there are more at risk if the war continues.
Well, they might be. They also, maybe they'll be freed because of that. You never know how it's going. Look, war, I was saying, yes, war, a lot of strange things happen. A lot of results take place that you would never think were going to happen. As you know, I was able to get most of the hostages out. We're down to 20, and we have 32 dead people. You know that. We have 32, maybe more, 38, but between 32 and 38 people that were dead, mostly young people. And I've dealt with some of the parents. And we got all our Americans out, as you know, but now we're talking about mostly Israelis. But I dealt with parents, I spoke to parents, and they want the body of their son believe in almost all cases, sons, but they want the body of their cherished, beautiful son. They want the body back as much as though he were alive. It's so sad to see, but I've dealt with the mothers and fathers. Please, sir, please, the body of my son. They know he's dead, and they just want him back. They want him back as much as though he's alive. I mean, it's very terrible, and you know we have very close to 40 bodies that are included in the whole thing. But we have 20, probably 20 that are living. It might be a little bit less because a couple of things. Look, young people don't die, okay? They just don't die. And they can take a lot, but a lot of people died in these horrible tunnels. They're mostly in the tunnels. I know a lot about it. I got them out. But I always said the last 20, when you get down to the last 10 or 20, it's going to be very tough. It's a nasty situation. You can't forget October 7th, but it's a nasty situation, terrible. It's a terrible thing.
On Gaza, the UN concluded this week that Israel committed genocide in Gaza. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I haven't seen that. I'm looking at it, but did anybody commit genocide on October 7th? What do you think about that? That was genocide at the highest level. That was murder, genocide, you can call it whatever you want, but little babies were chopped in half. Arms were cut off people, heads were cut off people. That's genocide. That's genocide also, I guess, right?
President, on TikTok, you referred to getting a fee from that deal. What is that fee?
Well, it hasn't been fully negotiated, but we'll get something from the standpoint that we worked hard. We put up a lot. We spent a lot of money on letting this come and letting this, it's a very, very big deal. It's a very powerful deal. And the United States really, I see it. I mean, people were saying, save TikTok, save TikTok. So many people. It's a big thing. And, China can be very proud that they were able to get that started. And so I very much appreciate President Xi's working with us on that. Very much.
What comes next after designating Antifa?
Well, we have others that we're going to designate too, but we're going to look at the people that funded Antifa, see who they are, where they came from, and why they did. Have you seen Portland at all? If you take a look what's happening in Portland, it's, this has been going on for years. It's just people out of control. They're crazy. We're going to stop that very soon. We have to get rid of a couple of other problems first. We're going to get rid of the problems in Memphis where you can't even walk a block without getting shot. We're going to get rid of the problems in Chicago. Chicago's a great city and we have to save it. We have to save it. I told you I had the head of the Union Pacific Railroad in my office and I said, so what do you think? You go to every city, you have railroads in you are the biggest railroad, beautiful railroad, he's a great guy. I said, what do you think? He said, sir, save Chicago. Don't let it go down. Save it. The way he said it was so meaningful to me. It was like terrible. In a way, it was terrible. Save Chicago. Who would ever think that we'd be sitting here talking about saving Chicago? Chicago's a great city. They have a terrible mayor. Terrible. He's at like 5% approval rating. He's an incompetent person. They have an incompetent governor, in my opinion. He's incompetent. 11 people get shot, and he says crime isn't a good shot. I mean, they're losing 4, 5, 6 people a week, getting killed by bullets, by knives. And then he says how wonderful it is, Chicago. So, well, it might be wonderful for him. I think they're afraid. Look, he's not a stupid guy. I really believe they're afraid to say, politically, I guess, from an ideology standpoint, from a democratic standpoint, he is afraid to say the fact that they have a very unsafe, very dangerous city. He should say, I'm going to call President Donald Trump and I'm going to ask him to send in the troops, to send in the National Guard and clean this hellhole up. Because Chicago can be a great city again. I'll tell you what, Washington, D.C. is a great place again. It's booming. And the restaurants are booming. And 6 months ago, 7 months ago, nobody could go outside. And even just walking around the White House, people here are thanking me for what I've done. They're thanking me. They're saying thank you. And I almost know what they mean because they can walk to work. And even when they took Uber and they took other forms of transportation, they felt unsafe because the car was hijacked while they're in there. They take a car and it's being hijacked as they get into the car. And they did that for safety. And now we have a safe place. You know, we've taken 1,500 people out of career criminals have been taken out of Washington, D.C. And we weren't very nice about it.
Do you know? Mr.
What do you think about rail merger? Did you discuss it with the Union Pacific?
I did discuss it, and I don't know, I don't want to make a comment on it, but Union Pacific is a great railroad, and they want to add a railroad that had a mistake at a place very close to my heart. You know, a lot of people say that that was a place where I got off to a very good start. It was a rough thing that happened. Well, they're trying to buy that railroad that had the problem. And I mean, sounds good to me, to be honest with you. Sounds good to me. I'm a very big fan of the head of the railroad, the head of the Union Pacific. He started as a very low on the totem pole, started his job very low and became the chairman of the company over a 45-year period. But I asked him about different cities. He said, St. Louis is tough. We thought, you know, he sort of stops at many of them. New Orleans. We have to save New Orleans.
Mr. President, when are you going to give
We're going to be going into New York too. Yeah.
Mr. President,
and we're going to be going in quiet. You're really obnoxious.
I'm not obnoxious, but I'm trying to ask you, what about your plans?
You are
for
really
Memphis?
obnoxious.
I'm not obnoxious, but I am asking, what are your plans for Memphis? Many people.
I'm not going to talk to you until I call on you.
What are your plans for Memphis?
Who else? Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to sell this free speech question because you said that you restored free speech in America.
Yeah.
Is that free speech including for people who are harshly critical of you, for your political opponents, for people who say things you don't like?
I've become immune to it.
You unfairly?
I've become immune to it. There's never been a person that's had more unfair publicity than me, and that's why your network paid me $15 million, or $16 million, I believe, to be exact, George Slopadopoulos, and that's why CBS paid me a lot of money too. And that's why I sued the New York Times 2 days ago for a lot of money. Because I'm winning. I mean, I'm winning the cases, and the reason I'm winning is because you're guilty, John. You're guilty. ABC is a terrible network, a very unfair network, and you should be ashamed of yourself. NBC is equally bad. I don't know who's worse. I think they're equally bad. And, you know, for you to stand there and act so innocent and ask me a question like that. But look, you paid a big price. Because you were dishonest, John. The reason I won that lawsuit was because you were dishonest. You were proven to be dishonest. And so you can't sit back and just say, oh, well, what do you think? You know, like you're some wonderful person. You're not a wonderful person. Frankly, you're a terrible reporter. You know it, and so do I. Okay, here's what we're going to do. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to talk about something that's going to reduce our taxes greatly, that's going to hopefully bring some great people into our country. You know, as you know, right now nobody's coming in because we've succeeded in closing. We've closed the border very successfully. I think you will agree. We had nobody come in for the last few months. I mean, it was actually said zero. Even I can't believe zero, but the numbers are put out by very impartial people or people that have a tendency to be on the left. And they actually said for the last 3 months, nobody came in. We have a very strong border. It's a closed border. People are coming into our country, but they're coming in legally. It's a beautiful thing to watch. But we are doing something where rather than coming into the border, 25 million people came into our country during Biden. One of the saddest things. The worst thing, look, he was horrible in inflation. He was horrible in just about everything you could be. I don't think he was good on. He wasn't even fair on anything. It was a horrible administration. He was the worst president in the history of our country, and we have to mop it up. The hardest thing that we have to do is to get rid of the criminals that he allowed into our country from prisons, from mental institutions, gang members, drug dealers. And we're getting them out, and we're getting them out fast, and we're making America safe again. Great again, but we're making America safe again. And it's an honor to do it. But this is something, this is an unforced era. what they've done. This is just an unforced error. So I'm going to ask Howard to speak. Howard's done a fantastic job, as you know, Secretary of Commerce. And I'm going to ask Howard and Will. Will, could you just give a quick description of what we're doing and what we're signing, et cetera? And
yes, sir.
I will do that. Go ahead.
We have 2 items for your attention today, sir. A major focus of your administration has been shifting the conversation and shifting the policy dynamics around the issue of immigration, closing the border, preventing illegal immigration, but also, as is the case with the executive order in front of you, opening new pathways for truly extraordinary people to come contribute to America instead of taking away from it. So this executive order is entitled the Gold Card. It will set up a new pathway, a new visa pathway for foreigners of extraordinary ability who are committed to supporting the United States for a payment of $1 million to the U.S. Treasury, or if a corporation is sponsoring them, $2 million by that corporation, and that will give them access to expedited visa treatment as part of this new Gold Card program.
And one of the biggest problems we have is that people, they go to the best schools and they do great and they get great marks, and then they're thrown out of the country. You're not allowed to stay. This way a corporation will be able, sort of like a signing bonus in baseball or football, a corporation will be able to get them to stay in the country, and I think it's going to be tremendously successful. Howard, would you say a few words about it, please?
Sure. So historically, the employment-based Green Card program let in 281,000 people a year. And those people, on average, earned $66,000 a year on average, and they were 5 times more likely to go on assistance programs of the government. So we were taking in the bottom quartile, below the average American. It was illogical. The only country in the world that was taking in the bottom quartile. So what we are doing now is we are going to stop doing that. We're going to only take extraordinary people at the very top. Instead of people trying to take the jobs from Americans, they're going to create businesses and create jobs for Americans. And this program will raise more than $100 billion for the Treasury of the United States of America.
Which we'll use for cutting taxes and paying down debt. We think it's going to be very successful. Essentially, we're having people come in, people that in many cases I guess are very successful or whatever, and they're coming in, they're going to spend a lot of money to come in, they're going to pay as opposed to walking over the borders, and they may come from jails, prisons, and everything else. These people don't. They're very productive people, and they're going to pay $1 million. A corporation's going to pay $2 million, and it's going to raise billions of dollars, billions and billions of dollars, which is going to go to reduce taxes, pay off debt, and other good things. So I think it's going to be very successful.
Mr. President,
what?
Are the big techs on board with this decision?
I wish you'd speak more clearly. I really do. Give it to me again.
Are the big techs, the CEOs, on board with this decision?
Big tech? Tech companies. Big tech companies.
Yeah, big tech. Yeah, it's big tech. It's every company. It's big tech. It's big tech. It's big everything. Okay. It's a company. I said it's not a tech company. It's tech companies and everything else. It's companies having a hard time getting people to be able to stay in the country. It's very difficult. Now, if you want to walk through the border, you can have no problem. People say, well, the best way to come in is walk right through the border. But they can't do that anymore because under our administration, the border is totally closed. You can only come in if you come in legally, and that's the way it's been, and that's the way it should be. And we're taking a lot of people out of the country that are here from prisons, from jails, from mental institutions, and even insane asylums, people that are crazy. We're taking them out of the country. We're getting them out of the country because you can't have a country like that. And I tell you, Christie and Tom Homan and all of the people that have worked so hard on this, they've done an unbelievable job. And I think we're getting great marks for it. People feel safe. Washington, D.C. is just the beginning. We brought the numbers down in Chicago a little bit by having the FBI in there for the last 5 months. We brought the numbers down in Memphis a little bit, but now we're going for the big one. Now we're going to go for the big one. But we set ourselves up very well in Chicago, Memphis, New Orleans a little bit, going in early just to see what was happening. We study it. We're studying the site. It's sort of like war. I mean, I hate to tell you, it's like war. Some of these people are really bad. They're really, really sick people. They're dangerous people. They're killers. They're murderers, drug dealers, and can't have it. You can't have a country like that. It's so beautiful to see at Washington, D.C. that people are walking down the middle of the street and they're going to restaurants, and you are too. And half of you were mugged. I mean, I don't know if she's here now. I don't see her, but you know, some people were badly mugged that were reporters. Two of the people right standing in the back of the room were mugged, and they're not going to have that anymore. And if you look at the crime stats in Washington, D.C., you have a safe place again. They were afraid to go to a restaurant because the restaurant would be held up while they're having dinner. And so they'd be mugged going there, and assuming they escaped the mugging, they go to the restaurant and then they're held up. This is how bad it's been. Yep.
Follow up on the visa question. I think this may be the next thing that you're signing, but for the H-1B visa action that you're doing,
that's going to be next. We'll talk about that.
You're very close to the technology CEOs. Are they concerned about that?
I think they're going to be very happy. Everyone's going to be happy. And we're going to be able to keep people in our country that are going to be very productive people. And in many cases, these companies are going to pay a lot of money for that. And they're very happy about it. Okay, we'll talk about that next, all right? Okay. My friend, why don't you keep that, okay?
Thank you.
That's such a good job. Okay. It's phase one. John, are you happy? Pitch. Okay, let's go.
Thank you, Mr. President. One of the most abused visa systems in our current immigration system has been the H-1B non-immigrant visa program. This is supposed to allow highly skilled laborers who work in fields that Americans don't work in to come into the United States of America. What this proclamation will do is raise the fee that companies pay to sponsor H-1B applicants to $100,000. This will ensure that the people they're bringing in are actually very highly skilled and that they're not replaceable by American workers. So it'll protect American workers, but ensure that companies have a pathway to hire truly extraordinary people and bring them to the United States.
We
to
need
work.
workers. We need workers. We need great workers. And this pretty much ensures that that's what's going to happen. I think, Sean, do you agree with that?
Well, they're $100,000 per year. So the whole idea is no more will these big tech companies or other big companies train foreign workers. They have to pay the government $100,000, then they have to pay the employee. So it's just not economic. If you're going to train somebody, you're going to train one of the recent graduates from one of the great universities across our land. Train Americans, stop bringing in people to take our jobs. That's the policy here, $100,000 a year for H-1B visas, and all of the big companies are on board. We've spoken to them about the gold card.
They love it. They love it. They really love it. They need it. Go ahead, Sean.
Mr. President, it seems like there's two categories of visa programs. The H-1B, a lot of people believe take American jobs, and then the gold card and programs like EB-5 that add value and jobs to America. Is that sort of how you look at the visa program?
Well, ideally, look, if somebody's got the people, they're not going to want to spend $100,000 as an example in your second category. So it's not taking jobs. And we need certain jobs. We need certain skilled jobs that we don't have. But they won't be taking jobs because, you know, ideally the people aren't going to want to. They're not going to.
Investing in America.
Right. That's right.
So that's what I'm asking.
They're really investing in
America. You have two categories. One, the Secretary left things, the gold card and EB-5 that create jobs, add investment, and then there's other ones that seem to take, you know, whether it's a J1 and O or an H-1B that take U.S. jobs.
Yeah, it's pretty correct. I mean, I would say that's a correct assessment. But the main thing is we're going to have great people coming in, and they're going to be paying. I mean, it's wonderful to say, oh, gee, we took in 25 million people that, look, many criminals, jails were open from Venezuela, from many other countries, and they were let out of jail and poured into our country, our poor country, how it suffered with this stupid president that we had and the stupid people that surrounded him right around this desk, these liberal, crazy people that have destroyed, they could have destroyed. If we didn't win this election, our country would have been dead. Our country was dead. Think of it, and I've said this, man, the king of Saudi Arabia said, your country was dead 1 year. They thought it was dead. This country couldn't have survived another year of those people running it. And now we have the hottest country anywhere in the world. Think of that. And this is going to help. And we're taking in hundreds of billions of dollars. This will be taken in, the gold card will be taken in hundreds of billions of dollars. And companies will be able to keep some people that they need. You know, they need people of expertise, great expertise. And I think it's going to be a fantastic thing. And we're going to take that money and we're going to reduce taxes. We're going to reduce debt. We have a very, very strong country. We assuming everything works out great with the lawsuit that we have a lawsuit that's inspired by foreign countries that ripped us off for 25 years. But assuming we win that, we hopefully win it in the Supreme Court of the United States. We have a country that no stopping us. We're rich, we'll be rich. We can take care of poor people. We can take care of our military. We can take care of everything. We can take care of beyond the country. We can help take care of the world. That we don't, it'll just be the same struggle that we've had for years where other countries charged us tariffs and they ripped us off. Our country has been ripped off more than any country in the history of the world. And now we're doing what we have to do. We're taking in billions and billions of dollars at levels that nobody has ever seen, trillions of dollars. And we're using it to reduce debt. We're using it to reduce taxes. The great big beautiful bill is a big tax reduction. It's being paid for by the tariffs, and people are paying a lot less money in taxes. They're being, think of it, no tax on tips, no tax on Social Security, no tax on overtime. It's an unbelievable phenomenon. It really is. It's the golden age. We're making it the golden age. Without the tariffs, it would be impossible. And China, for years, charged us tariffs, and they continue to do it, and so do other countries. Most countries, they charge us. They were ripping. Look, the European Union, as you know, I get along very well with them, but they ripped us off so badly. Nobody's ever seen anything. Now, the European Union is paying us $950 billion, and they're paying us $750 billion to buy our energy, and they're okay with it. They signed the agreement. You know, it's not like anybody forced them to do it. They're okay with us. Tariffs are making our country very rich again, and we'll be able to take care of our debt. We'll be able to take care of our taxes, lower taxes. We'll be able to take care of Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security. We're going to be a rich country again. Without tariffs, we'd be in very big trouble.
H-1Bs are sometimes used by people already in the country legally on other visas or student visas. Does this apply to them or to renewals, or does it only apply to people applying for the first time from abroad?
Renewals, first times, the company needs to decide, is that person valuable enough to have $100,000 a year payment to the government, or they should head home and they should go hire an American. The whole idea, it's annual, and it's for total. It can be a total of 6 years. So $100,000 a year, so either the person is very valuable to the company and America, or they're going to depart and the company's going to hire an American, and that's the point of immigration. Hire Americans and make sure the people coming in are the top people. Stop the nonsense of letting people just come into this country on these visas that were given away for free. President is crystal clear. Valuable people only for America. Stop the nonsense.
And remember, the country,
fee to America.
The country would rather not have to pay $100,000, but and they'd rather, how do you do that? You hire Americans. So there's an incentive to hire American. But there may be instances where it's better off doing it through expertise or whatever it may be. But they're both unbelievable, whether it's a gold card or anything else that we talked about today. And that includes talking about freedom of speech, because our country has been decimated by bad people, very bad people, people that love crime. They love crime. Explain it to me. They don't want to have our military go in and save lives. But when you go and ask the people, do you mind having the National Guard come in if it meant safety? They look at the questioner like, what's wrong? What kind of a stupid question is that? Of course they do. We're going to have a safe country again. We're not going to have people shot. 11 people shot. Think of it. In Chicago, over a period of 6 or 7 weeks, 55 people were murdered. And then you have a governor saying how wonderful it is. It's not wonderful. It's a very unsafe. There's not a place in the world. You go outside, you go to Afghanistan, you go to different places all over the world that you hear about. It's 20% of what's happening in places like Chicago. And you think of them as unsafe. Mexico City, it's a tough place, dangerous place. The crime rate is lower. Think of it. What's happening to our country, we're not going to let it happen. And I think I got elected largely for that reason. So we're going to have a safe country again. We're going to have a great country again. We're doing unbelievably. We have the highest stock market in history. We have the most investment we've ever had, ever, as a country coming in. And we're very simple. You know, they said, how'd you get elected? I got elected because I'm going to make America great again. That's what we're doing. We're making America great again. Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you, guys. Thank you, guys. Thanks, guys. I love you. We're right there.
All right, so that is President Trump from earlier, rolling out that gold card there, also signing executive orders and answering questions regarding recent moves within his administration, including touching on the situation, ever-evolving situation involving Jimmy Kimmel. Let's take a quick break. We'll be back here in 2 minutes on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. Welcome back here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. I'm Nick Sturdivant. Jeb is here in studio as well. We want to get to something live happening right now in Minneapolis, Minnesota. Governor Tim Walz is holding a rally there. So this week, just to kind of put some context around this, he announced that he is running for a third term. If he is successful, he will be the first Minnesota governor elected to 3 consecutive 4-year terms. So we want to take you there now to Minneapolis, where that rally is taking place. Let's take a listen in.
One in a governor. So I just refuse to believe that our politics is going to go down to the level that good people are not allowed to lead and rise up and bring people with them. That's what you've got in this governor. That's what we've got in Tim Walz. So let's go and make sure that he gets reelected. Minnesota. So there's kind of some famous people here. They might be from the Walz family. So there are 2 people here who know Tim better than just about anyone else. And that's the two people that get to call him Dad. So you know you have done well as a parent. I was just out there with them. When your kids are as proud of you as Gus and Hope are of Tim. Hope showed us that Tim isn't just brave enough to stand up to Donald Trump. He's brave enough to go on a slingshot at the state fair. That's what Hope gave us. And then we all remember Gus at the convention. Remember those words? That's my dad. Remember when Gus stood up in that middle of the speech and said what every kid feels when they're proud of their parent, when they have love in their family? He said, that's my dad. And no 3 words better describe our governor. Let's bring up Hope and Gus Walz.
Hello, Minnesota!
For those of you who don't know us, I'm Hope.
And I'm Gus. We have a very important message for you tonight. Don't worry, the Vikings will be fine and J.J. McCarthy will turn out. Thanks, everyone. Have a great night.
Now that Gus has gotten that off his chest, we want to share with you a little bit about our kick-ass dad. Now, I'm sure many of you have seen him on TV, wearing a suit and tie, giving a speech at the State House, hosting a big rally like this one, or being the weird obsession of everyone at Fox News.
But to us, he's always just been regular old dad. Less suit and tie and more the same gray sweatshirt he's had for 10 years and counting. He cleans the car, loves our dog Scout and Kitty Honey, and we watch the Vikings with the volume way too loud. You won't be surprised to hear he tells a lot of jokes. And if you think dad jokes are bad, let me tell you about governor jokes.
Our dad is goofy, passionate, fiercely protective of the ones he loves, and always so excited to see us. I don't live with my parents anymore, but I never have to ask to come home. No matter where they might be, they always have a room with my name on it, warm food on the table, and a million questions about my life. How's work going? How are your friends doing? Have you gotten that dent out of your truck yet? I get that one 3 times a day at this point. And no matter how busy he gets, he always details and cleans my car, and my cousin's cars. Really, anyone's car, you should ask him.
The thing about my dad is he shows up. He shows up for our family. He shows up for our state. My dad shows up for the people, every single time. My dad knows what makes a good team, showing up for each other and caring about each other. Well, he truly believes we're one team here in Minnesota, and I know he'll always have your back.
I've never been more convinced that Gus and I are the luckiest kids in the entire world. And we've seen firsthand that our dad's big heart is his superpower. He loves this state and everyone in it, and that's why he pours everything he has into making Minnesota the best place on earth.
But if you ask me one of the reasons our state is so great, I'd probably say the Minnesota Gophers row the boat. But another reason is because we have a governor who cares. And he wants every kid who grows up here to have a childhood as great as me and my sister got. And let's hope that includes one Viking Super Bowl.
We love you, Mom and Dad.
Now please join us in welcoming to the stage
the 41st governor of Minnesota,
and our dad,
Tim Walz.
Well, wow. Well, I got to tell you, I'm feeling pretty blessed tonight. How about Hope and Gus? Play, thanks, guys. And to Gwen, the light of my life, my best friend for so long, and I think everybody in this room knows the person who really makes this train run. Thank you, Gwen. Well, how are you folks doing tonight? We're back again, and I know you could be anywhere. It's a Friday night, almost early fall. Heck, you could even be at a Twins game. I know, not the greatest thing, but you chose to come here. Chose to come wait in line, come in the building here. Again, because you care. You care about our state, you care about our country, and you care about each other. That's what makes Minnesota. That's what this is about, and that's what makes Minnesota the greatest place on this planet. I'm always grateful to each and every one of you and to the state of Minnesota for giving a small-town boy, teacher, part-time soldier, a chance to serve as the governor of the greatest state in the union. Thank you all. I'll tell you what, lots of reasons to be thankful. One amongst them is how blessed are we to have Amy Klobuchar as our senior senator. Just such a force and the caringness, and I have to tell you, it's the funniest senator too. Tell me that Ted Cruz joke wasn't funny. That was funny. So, good. And we got folks who are willing to put themselves out there to do the work for all of us. Richard Karlbaum and the folks at the DFL, thank you. Thank you for all you do. And to each and one of our elected officials I see across this room, and to their families. At this time in our history, I am so incredibly grateful that you are willing to serve as servant leaders to make life better, not for you and not your family, but for people you'll never meet across every corner of this state. Thank you to each and every one of you. Well, contrary to what Gus said, you might know why we're really here tonight. Because we've got unfinished business to attend to. And those of you who know me, no matter what it is, I'm not going to quit until the job's done. So I'm here tonight, folks, asking the people of Minnesota for the privilege of serving as your governor for 4 more years. Because here in Minnesota, we're writing a story about how to govern like good neighbors. We treat each other with respect. We always look to find common ground where we can. Just as important, everything we do is driven by the commitment to making life just a little bit better for all the people we serve. We recognize that all we want, and most people across the country, certainly across Minnesota, want the same basic things to make up a good life. They want security, a solid foundation that won't fall away if something goes wrong. We all want opportunity, chance to get ahead, and a chance for our kids to go even further. And maybe most of all, we all want freedom to live our own lives the way we want to. And with our partners in the legislature, I am damn proud of the progress we've made to build that good life right here in Minnesota. More kids in pre-K, fewer in poverty. More clean energy flowing through the grid, fewer roads and bridges at risk of failing. More families with dignified care for their loved ones. Fewer families without safe, secure housing. More jobs, better pay, and the strongest organized labor protections in the nation. And despite what the naysayers said that it couldn't be done, we passed a responsible budget through the most closely divided legislature in the entire country. And because we've governed with that courage, with ambition, with vision, we've built one of the friendliest states to start and grow a business, and one of the freest states to live your life how you choose. And the best place in the country to raise a child. Security, opportunity, and freedom. That's what you get out of life in Minnesota. And the truth is that I found out last fall is all America wants what we have right here. And we know, just like democracy, that work is a team effort. So give yourself a round of applause for making this happen. Now, that next chapter of Minnesota's history is yet to be written. We'll get to decide what it's going to say at the ballot box next November. And here's the thing, there's no guarantee that we continue down the path of growth and progress and neighborly goodwill. It's only month 8 of this nightmare in Washington. And I want to know is, and I've been asking this question, where are the don't tread on me people these days? You know them. In all seriousness, where are they? The ones who had made principled arguments about decrying cancel culture, demanding free speech, warning against us against government that's too big and too powerful. Well, you know, many of them, they only cared about that when Democrats were in charge of government. But I'm going to break it to them. They are getting tread on every single day. This monstrosity of an administration is cracking down on dissent on our college campuses, within our own government, and now even on television. These last few days, witnessing government and FCC canceling Jimmy Kimmel, Stephen Colbert, and I said it, this is North Korea type crap that they're doing. It is the definition of censorship that you would find in your civics textbooks if they hadn't already scrubbed those textbooks. And we're at a point now, and you know it, and you have your neighbors knowing this. Whether they're a U.S. citizen or not, what they know is this president's personal police force can disappear you at a whim. That's where we're living. And I said, don't even get me started on RFK Jr. Actively keeping life-saving vaccines out of the reach of all of us. And then gaslighting it by calling it health reform and health freedom. So I know you're trying to square that circle. I'm trying to too. But I said this, at least his slogan is true. Maha. Measles are here again. They're here again. Which would be pretty funny if we didn't know what that could mean. Now, one thing Donald Trump did do is he identified that we do have a broken system in this country. He ran on a promise to bring down prices on day one for working people, and he hasn't done a damn thing about it since then. Eggs, chickens, pork, beef, you name it, all are up over 10%. But I keep saying this, you know, they said, well, you never, ever give the president credit for when he keeps his word on something. And I said, well, it's rare, but he did keep his word on something. He did bring something down, tax rates for billionaires who golf with him. He's done that. He was doing that. He said those in power weren't responsive enough, so he stacked his cabinet with lobbyists and industry tycoons so they do the bidding of their corporate overlords. And he said we needed to root out government waste, so he did trim the fat. You know, things that we don't really need, like childhood cancer research, Medicaid for our parents, payments to keep rural hospitals open. And by the way, just as we stand here today on what they've done, 18 of our hospitals in Minnesota are at risk of closing their doors in greater Minnesota because of the big, beautiful bullshit bill that was passed. It has driven up premiums, and this year, healthcare premiums for all of us will be at a 15-year high. And no surprise whatsoever, all of our Republican representatives voted for it. Proudly voted. Now, they proudly voted to make your health care more expensive, to put our rural hospitals at risk, and lower the quality of life for Minnesotans. And if they were proud enough about this, do a damn town hall, Tom Emmer. Get out there and listen to people. Do a town hall. Don't go on Fox News and gripe at me, because you had a chance to be governor and Minnesota said, hell no. Hell no.
All right, so that is Governor Tim Walz out in Minnesota holding a rally. Looks like that shot went out as he was speaking. We're going to go to break. We'll take a break here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. Thank you for being with us, staying with us this evening. We'll be back again in 2 minutes, I promise, here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. Welcome back here on this Friday evening on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. I'm Nick Sturdivant. Jeb is also here in studio. So let's talk about a big story right now. The Senate today voted to block dueling Republican and Democratic proposals to keep the federal government funded on a short-term basis, pretty much raising the chances of a shutdown at the end of the month. That deadline is October 1st. So we did hear from leaders from both sides of the aisle. We heard from Democratic leaders, including Senator Chuck Schumer out of New York. So let's take you there now in case you missed it.
Adjourned until October 1st. If there were ever a sign that the Republicans wanted a shutdown, that's it. Now our bill, of the two bills, our bill was the only bill on the floor that got a majority of those present and voting. Theirs did not, ours did. Donald Trump would rather shut down the government than even talk to Democrats about lowering the cost of health care for Americans, which is what is our goal. And Republicans, unfortunately, sadly, dutifully obeyed. Senate Republicans just voted to shut the government down with a partisan bill that gives Donald Trump everything he wants and nothing the American people need. Donald Trump says he doesn't want to talk. He's still in the go-to-hell mode. His marching orders are to Republicans are don't even bother with Democrats. That is not governing. That's a recipe for a shutdown. And the American people know it. Well, neither bill was able to pass. The theater must end. Let's sit down and negotiate. Now that it's clear that neither bill will get the 60 votes that the Senate needs, it's time to negotiate. The theater must end. The last 4 years, when Democrats were in the majority, We didn't have a shutdown because we always worked with the Republicans. We knew we needed their votes. When Democrats had the majority, no shutdown. Republicans have the majority. They seem to be headed for one, but we hope and pray that they will now see that the only way to avoid a shutdown is negotiate with Democrats, which is how we've always done it. We have only a week left. We're saying clearly, let's sit down, let's figure this out. But Republicans have now left town with no sign they want to avoid a shutdown in a week. They left town. Donald Trump is the shutdown president, and Senate Republicans are following him over the cliff. The stakes are real. A shutdown is devastating to Americans. Democrats are doing everything we can to sit down and negotiate. We do not want a shutdown. Our position has never changed. We need bipartisan legislation to keep the government open and meet the needs of the American people, especially on costs, specifically health care costs. But until Republicans break free from Donald Trump's grip, they're dragging this country straight into another shutdown. We remain ready to work together to fund the government and implore Republicans to come to the table. Patty.
Well, and Amy has to fight, so she's
Okay, all right. Thank you so much, Chuck. And I hope people notice that the vote that got the majority, that had the higher numbers, were actually our proposal, because so many Republicans didn't show up today. Not show up when the American people are seeing their premiums skyrocketing, when in fact the president over and over again has told the public the last few weeks they don't need Democratic votes, can go it alone. Well, we're not going it alone because we are standing with the American people. You look at what happened here with the ACA healthcare tax credits before they expire, more than 20 million Americans for the Affordable Care Act tax credits are going to see their premiums soar. Because of the big, beautiful betrayal of the bill, we've seen Americans lose their health coverage. We see rural hospitals already shutting down. And what we're asking them to do right now is to negotiate, to come to the table, to talk to Senator Schumer, to talk to Senator Murray, like they have always done, and to not shut this down. It's on them. And of course we're going to stand with the American people. I don't know who they're talking to when they go home, because the people I talk to, I'm going to nearly finish my 87-county tour of Minnesota next week. The people I talk to, they're like, what is going on here? This is not what I signed up for in the rural areas. So that's what this fight is about.
Thank you, Amy. And I must say, I do 62 counties every year, and I'm not even finished. She's already at 80. She's ready to do 87, is it?
Yes.
Listen, every single senator had a very simple choice. Vote for a bill to responsibly fund the government and address the health care crisis. Republicans chose to sit on their hands or not even show up, rather than lift a finger to address the health care crisis they themselves created. People in my state are going to get letters in the mail next month letting them know that their premiums are set to skyrocket next year. Hospitals in my state are already closing and laying off staff, and around the both in my state and around the country, because of these Republican health care cuts. To the American people, Democrats are fighting to repeal the cuts, to lower your costs, and to save your health care. To my Republican colleagues, inaction is not an option. If you want Democratic votes, you need to work with us. Compromise is a very basic principle every American understands. And if Republicans don't bother working with Democrats just because Donald Trump said so, it will be a Republican shutdown. Republicans control all of government. The House, the Senate, the White House. The American people know who to blame. The bare minimum here is for Republican leadership to simply sit down with Democratic leadership to hammer out a path forward. Now they're leaving town instead of sitting down with Democrats to lower health care costs and stop our hospitals from closing. Leader Thune, I am asking, keep the Senate in session so we can hammer out a deal to keep government open and prevent Americans' premiums from skyrocketing. We should choose a better path. We should fund the government, fix healthcare crisis, and avert a Trump shutdown. Thank you.
Thank you. Senator Schatz.
I'm still a little flabbergasted that they couldn't generate a majority for their own proposal, and that we're just over a week from a potential government shutdown. And I am more than a little flabbergasted that the House just decided after a 6-week recess to take another recess and come back after the end of the federal fiscal year. Just now, Republicans voted to jack up health care premiums for millions of Americans, and the choice was very simple. We either work together to extend these tax credits and save millions of Americans from losing their health care, or Republicans can go it alone, and people are going to get these letters in a matter of weeks saying, your subsidies are gone, and you're going to pay $200, $300, $400, $500 more per person per month. This is not an abstraction. This is not an allegation. This is not a political talking point. This is what is going to happen to millions of Americans in blue and red and purple places all across the country. And what we're saying is that this is avoidable. What we're saying is that people are about to experience an intense amount of financial pain and probably lose their health care. And we just want to fix this. So Republicans need to come to the table and negotiate with us. That's the way to pass a bill.
Senator Booker.
So here's the thing that we all know in this room is that most Americans are not following the backs and forths of what's happening in Washington. What most Americans, unfortunately, right now are concerned with is that they're struggling with economic pain. Prices are going up on everything from groceries to child seats. Prices are going up on everything from energy costs to health care. There are a lot of Americans who may not be following what's happening between Democrats and Republicans in Washington, but they know that their lives are becoming more difficult, that they're finding it harder to make ends meet, and there's a lot of fear about not just the health care cuts that have already happened, but the impending doom of health care cuts that are about to happen. And so Senate Democrats are simply standing together here in the Senate. And we're saying we're going to stand and fight for the things that Americans care about. They want their elected officials, be they Republicans, Democrats, or independents, to do something about the pain that they're feeling, to do something about rising costs, and to do something about the challenges Americans are facing in the millions and millions in losing health care and losing access to health care. And so that's what we're doing right now. We want the Republicans to stay in town and sit at a table and negotiate and work with us to do something about the mounting concerns of so many Americans. Right now, Republicans are leaving town when there is work to do on the issues that Americans care about.
Thank you, Corey. Just to repeat again, the fact that the House adjourned till October 1st, that shows you it's clear evidence that they want to shut down. We don't. Yes.
Do you think that your decision in March to basically not get much in return for avoiding a shutdown then made it easier for them to make this play call now and say, let's just do a straight CR and make them eat?
Absolutely not. First, as you saw, the only bill that got a majority of those voting was our bill, not their bill. But second, the world has totally changed from March. First, people have seen the damage the Republicans are doing. The reconciliation bill just decimated health care. Tariffs are now in effect and raising people's costs. Their costs are going up left and right. So they're very, very unhappy with what is happening. Second, we Democrats had plenty of time to be prepared. Our message has been the same for the last 2-3 months, which is we need health care. We need to restore Americans' health care, and we need to get down their costs, and we don't need them to break the law and undo anything the Appropriations Committee did. And third, we have seen the unlawfulness of the Trump administration after March, with the rescissions, with the impoundments, with the pocket rescissions. So the world's a different place right now. Yes?
What's your plan now that this bill is failed?
We want to sit...
All right, so that our Democratic leaders, that's Senator Chuck Schumer, Cory Booker right behind him, as they talk about the budget. Again, we have a October 1st deadline until a potential shutdown of the government, so we'll continue to keep you updated, keep an eye on it. Thank you for staying with us here and being with us here this evening on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. Go out, enjoy your Friday. Enjoy your weekend. Be safe. We'll see you back here on WCNC Plus as far as Live Impact News on Monday. However, make sure you stay on WCNC Plus and WCNC Charlotte for the news at 11 o'clock.